Welcome to KR Films Entertainment Channel. Today I am going to explain a 2014 Hollywood war action movie called Fury. Attempts to fix their tank. Collier is tough on his men. Bible tells the crew that God was watching over them, and God hasn't called them home yet, much to the annoyance of the rest of the crew. Grady finally fixes the tank and they drive back to base. After arriving at the base, Collier orders his men to quickly refuel and resupply the tank and get it ready to move out again. He is stopped by a lieutenant who asks what happened to the rest of his platoon, and Collier tells him that his tank Fury is the only one remaining of the platoon. Collier watches as trucks full of bodies of troops are driven back to the base. He also sees a German POW being taken to questioning. Speaking German himself, Collier takes the liberty and proceeds to question the Nazi and then bursts with anger, clambering his fists onto the German until the rest of the soldiers and his crew separates him from the man. A young soldier, Norman Ellison, approaches Collier and tells him that he's been assigned to his tank crew. Collier is angry that someone so young would be assigned to his crew and questions Ellison. Ellison tells him he's been in the army for only 8 weeks and has no tank training as he was trained as a typing clerk. Ellison meets the rest of the crew who are also dismissive of him. They go through his pack and question him, though they clearly don't actually care about his answers. The crew orders Ellison to get a bucket of hot water and clean out the inside of the tank. He cleans up the gruesome remains, including a piece of the gunner's face that was blown off, and exits the tank to vomit when it becomes too much for him. Collier becomes enraged when he sees that an SS officer is being marched through the US base as he is being taken to the commander for questioning. Collier tries to beat him, but his crew holds him back. Collier meets with 3 other tank commanders, and they are clearly a tight-knit group. The lieutenant tells them that their new orders are to head out to meet Baker Company and then to take over a small town, and he will lead the convoy in his own tank. Fury's crew throws Ellison into the tank and tell him to shoot every German he sees. As the convoy continues, the soldiers see the bodies of people, including children, strung up with signs around their necks. Collier, who speaks German, translates the signs which say they were cowards for refusing to fight for the Nazis. The convoy begins to pass a dense forest, and Collier warns them to shoot at anything they see because German soldiers could be hiding waiting to attack the tanks. Ellison sees someone moving through the bushes but hesitates when he sees it's a child. Godot calls it out at the last second before a warhead is launched at the lead tank, instantly burning it. Everyone fires into the bushes and kill the enemy, while the lieutenant in the lead tank, completely engulfed in flames, screaming in agony, shoots himself in the head to keep from burning alive. Collier berates Ellison for failing to shoot and tells him the lieutenant's death is his fault. The convoy continues, led by Collier, and meets Baker Company. Collier meets with Captain Wagner, the man in charge. Wagner asks Collier to take the 4 remaining tanks and some of his troops and go rescue men who are trapped in a field, fighting a German troop that are armed with anti-tank weaponry. After rescuing the men, they will rendezvous outside the town there to overtake and go in together. Collier suggests a different route for the mission, and Wagner tells him that he knows his reputation and trusts his instincts. Collier leads the 4 tanks to the battlefield and belittles Ellison, warning him that he'd better kill as many Nazis as possible. The tanks reach the field where the US Army troops are hunkered down. The tanks turn into the field, approaching a tree line where the Germans are based. The Germans open fire and the tanks return fire. Again, Ellison hesitates to shoot, and when he does, he misses wildly and takes far too long to reload his gun. The troops run out from behind the tanks to enter the fight, and soon the battle is over with all the Germans killed. Ellison is traumatized over what's happened, and the Fury crew tries to calm him down. They speak to him kindly, giving him coffee and telling him about the fears they all faced when they first joined the crew. They tell him that Collier is a hard man, but they wouldn't fight with anyone else, and they've been together as a crew since the beginning of a war, which is highly unusual. Back in the tank, Ellison angrily asks Collier if he's trying to teach him to be a man. Collier tells him that he promised his crew that he'd get them through the war alive, and that their former gunner was the best gunner in the whole army, and now they're stuck with Ellison, who is endangering them all. Collier tells him that he's been killing Germans in Africa all over Europe and now they're killing Germans in Germany, and while the war is winding down there will be a lot more killing before it's done. They continue to the town where they reconvene with Wagner and the rest of the troops. They slowly go through the town expecting German soldiers to be laying in wait to attack them. Collier asks an elderly German man walking about where the soldiers are hiding, only to watch him be shot through the head by a sniper setting off the battle. They encounter pockets of Germans hiding in various buildings. After firing a white phosphorus round through one building, several Nazi soldiers come running out screaming in agony as they are on fire. Several US soldiers just watch them burning alive until Ellison finally guns them down. Godot congratulates him on his first kill but tells him that he should have let them burn to death. As the troops celebrate taking over the town, they pilfer jewelry, alcohol and other items from the town. They carouse in the streets, and Godot drunkenly escorts a German woman to the tank while Grady stands by waiting for his turn. Collier asks Ellison how he feels with his first kill under his belt and Ellison tells him he surprisingly enjoyed killing the Nazis. Wagner tells Collier that a pilot saw German troops marching toward a US supply base where many medics and supplies are stationed. However, the pilot cannot report anything about the number of troops or vehicles or anything as he was being shot at, so they have no idea what they will be up against. He wants Collier to take Fury and the other two tanks up to a crossroads and to keep the Nazis from disrupting the supply chain, which would be a huge loss to the US Army. The four tanks head to the crossroads but come under fire from a superior German Tiger tank that was sitting in an ambush position. The Tiger killed one US Sherman before the others could realize what's happening. The three remaining Sherman tanks cover the Tiger tank with smoke rounds so they can get to cover. After that they decide to charge the Tiger from across a field, trying to outmaneuver him because their guns aren't capable of penetrating the armor of the German tank. The Tiger takes out two of the tanks, leaving only Fury. Godot tries to maneuver Fury behind the German tank so they can shoot it from behind in its only weak point. Fury takes a couple of hits from the German tank but they do only small damage. They finally take out the Tiger but they are left alone with a busted radio. Bible tells the men again that God was watching over them and wasn't ready to call them home. Godot angrily asks Bible what God is doing while watching their fellow troops die. They continue on to the crossroads and as they are about to approach the top of a hill they run over a mine by a farmhouse, disabling the tank tracks. They try to fix the tank while Ellison and Grady check inside the farmhouse to ensure no enemy soldiers are hiding inside. Inside the farmhouse they find that it's been turned into a makeshift hospital but everyone has died. Grady takes a moment to apologize to Ellison and tell him that he's a good man and the rest of them may not be, but Ellison is. They return to Fury and Collier tells Ellison to head up to the hilltop to stand watch for the troops. Ellison heads up to the trees and sits quietly. Soon he hears the marching song of the Nazis and peers out to see hundreds of SS troops marching with several trucks. He races back down the hill and tells the crew what he saw. Grady, Godot and Bible gather their guns and packs, hoping to find somewhere to hide before the Nazi troops arrive, knowing the five of them alone cannot stop hundreds of German troops. Collier, however, says that he's never run from a fight before and he's not going to start now. Fury is his home, and he won't abandon it, but he tells the men to go and leave him there. Ellison refuses to leave and gets on the tank with him. One by one, Bible, Godot and Grady all rejoin the tank. They take stock of their inventory: ammo, tank shells, grenades and smoke bombs. They retrieve a dead body from the farmhouse, put it on the tank, cover it in a US Army jacket and set it along with their packs on the ground on fire. Then they sit inside and wait. The men smoke and talk to pass the time, repeating a refrain, "Best job I ever had," about Fury, at first sarcastically but then deeply and meaningfully. Collier opens a bottle of liquor which they pass around. After Ellison takes a hearty drink, Grady remarks that Ellison is now a fucking, fighting, drinking machine, and they all cheerily applaud him and tell him that his war name is now Machine. Bible preaches to the men, quoting scripture, telling them that God called out to his people asking, "Whom shall I send?" And a man cried out, "Here I am, send me." Collier surprises them all by telling them it's from the book of Isaiah, chapter 6. They hear the Nazi troops approaching and fall silent, preparing themselves for the worst. The Germans approach the tank, seeing the body on fire and assuming that the tank must be destroyed and its crew is dead. The men inside wait as more and more enemy soldiers get closer to the tank, climbing on board as well as clustering closer together. Suddenly Collier and his men throw out several grenades and open fire on the Germans, catching them by surprise. The Fury crew fires shell after shell and guns down dozens of German troops. When the Nazis try to run inside the farmhouse for cover, they fire white phosphorus shells at the house. The SS troops prepare to launch an attack with anti-tank weapons. They sneak closer in the cover of the darkness and the smoke. They assault the tank and one anti-tank projectile pierces the turret of the tank, hitting Grady and killing him instantly. Bible collapses on top of him, sobbing for his friend. Ellison runs out of ammo for the bow machine gun, and Collier and Bible decide to grab one of the turret-mounted MGs outside the tank while Godot and Ellison lay down cover fire from their handheld guns. They pop open the tank cover, throw out smoke grenades and grab the machine gun and some ammo from outside. Bible jumps down to the ground, hoping to grab guns off a dead Germans when he is tackled by another German. They fight until Ellison suddenly appears, shooting the Nazi dead. Bible and Ellison jump back into the tank with the new ammo, but before they are able to close the hatch, a Nazi climbs on board the tank and shoots Collier in the arm. Collier drags the Nazi into the tank, and he turns the Nazi's own knife on him and slashes his throat. Bible treats Collier's gunshot wound and Collier quotes from the Bible. They proclaim their work to be the will of God. Godot opens his hatch to throw out more grenades, but when he stands, he is shot, dropping a live grenade into the tank. Ellison calls out that there is a live grenade. Godot grabs the grenade and holds himself over it to protect the other men by covering the fragments with his body. Ellison again runs out of ammo, so Collier decides he will man the second exterior machine gun mounted to the turret. He opens the hatch to jump out and calls out for Bible to hand him the rest of the grenades. When Bible sticks his head out to hand them to him, he is shot through the head by a sniper. Collier gets behind the exterior gun and guns down as many Nazis as he can until he is also shot several times by the sniper. He crawls back into the tank with Ellison. Ellison tearfully tells Collier that he's scared and Collier says that he's scared as well. Ellison wants to surrender, but Collier tells him he shouldn't, as he will still be tortured and killed. He asks Ellison if he can see the hatch below him. He replies that he does, and Collier tells him to get ready. The Nazis are on top of Fury and then open the hatch and drop an explosive inside. Collier tells Ellison to go for the hatch. He opens it and dives down below the tank, hitting the ground, and he hears the explosive go off inside, killing Collier. Ellison quickly tries to scoop out a hole so he can hide beneath the tank. The Nazi troops seem to believe the whole crew is dead when one soldier crouches below with his flashlight and sees Ellison. With tears in his eyes, Ellison holds his hands up. The Nazi soldier says nothing and walks away. Hours later, Ellison abruptly awakes to hear someone approaching. He climbs back into the tank, retrieves Collier's handgun, and waits for the hatch to be opened, prepared to shoot them. When the hatch is opened, he realizes that it is US Army troops and medics. They retrieve him from the tank, tell him he's a hero, put him in an escort vehicle and send him away as the rest of the troops continue on. Thanks for watching.